Previously on Outback Rangers. Extreme temperatures of the build-up season takes its toll on the crew.
It's like a big oven up here.
Do you feel like going on, or do you want to go back?
In this episode,
Big deep one here.
It is.
Rangers continue their quest to find and protect national treasures. And a storm cloud signal an approaching monsoon. It spells not just a blessing, but also potential for trouble. For the crew, it's just the calm before the storm. The escarpment country of Jim Jim District, home to some of Australia's most important cultural artifacts, rock art. Cultural Officer Gabrielle O'Loughlin, Jim Jim Head Ranger Kathy Wilson, and traditional owner and ranger Jeffrey Lee are on an expedition to locate rock art sites. Kakadu's rock art is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage, and rangers must protect it. In this harsh landscape, fires are a big threat, so the team has to clear the bush around the area, or else the art could be destroyed. Temperatures are hitting 40 degrees, and Ranger Josh Taylor is taking all precautions to avoid getting sunstroke.
Cool them down before it gets too hot. It's gonna be a long day. Wrong time of the year, but it's gotta be done.
Could be rubbing up against the art, or could be a...
Jeff takes the team deeper into the country to track down the site. But the further they go, the tougher it gets.
Big deep one here.
It is. How deep is it?
Yeah.
It's wet feet time, everyone. We've got to walk through some water.
Yeah, right, am I right?
Ben, that's a deep one. It's really hard to do this rock art work. It's incredibly rugged terrain, broken up sandstone, quartzite. You've got pinnacles of rocks and gorges and creeks.
Hours pass with nothing in sight. All Jeff can rely on is his instinct, based on years of living in the bush. But even then, there is no guarantee.
We sort of find a little boulder like this, and that's mainly where you find rock art. I'm gonna go over here. But this is where all that pinnacle gets roughed now. You know, look underneath. Any painting there?
Nothing. Can't see anything here.
It's a tough blow for the team.
Sometimes it's quite deceptive. You think there's going to be rock art because there's nice overhangs, but then you get close and there's nothing there. Anything?
Nothing.
We're here. We haven't found anything yet. We're pretty broken. Yeah.
Just then, Josh spots something.
There's something here, look. There. Hey!
Yo!
Got him.
I think he's just found some art.
Mark him.
Kakadu's rock art represents the longest historical record of any group of people in the world. It's testament to tens of thousands of years of Aboriginal culture on the land.
Rock art, you know, it makes me cry. I just break down. And I think back, our culture always been with us.
Well, this is a barramundi.
It's interesting because it's not actually a fish we find in the creeks up the top here, is it?
Barramundi and Jim Jim Falls down the bottom.
So you'd have to get down that escarpment country, wouldn't you? Because Sometimes the simple figures just depict a story straight away, so you can just capture what was happening at that time.
For traditional owners like Jeff Lee, it's a discovery that evokes a deep spiritual connection to his ancestors.
Our people's spirit still lives. You can feel it. They're there. They're watching you. You're walking around country, they're watching you and me. Yeah, I get that goosebump. And I know. And that makes me feel really, really proud and really, really happy that all my ancestors are looking over our shoulder.
And it's incredible, the art. What is that? It's got a gorgeous long neck, the beak, the hair, and the long legs. That's a lovely drawing.
Being Brolga.
Brolga.
That Brolga, yeah? Yeah, that Brolga. Yeah, you can see that. Hardcore Brolga.
Some of Kakadu's rock art is thought to be up to 20,000 years old. They bear witness to ancient ways of life and also to vanished species.
We have Megafauna depicted in the art. There's a long-beaked echidna that no longer exists. And there's a very large kangaroo that used to roam the country, and there are paintings here. So you can go check records, fossil records, to say how old the art might be.
After documenting the art, the team clears the area of potential fire hazards.
I've been here with that old man now.
It's been a long yet fulfilling morning for the crew. For another team, their day is just about to begin. February in Kakadu. Scattered showers during the Gunameleng season signal the approaching monsoon. Water will soon engulf the floodplains, nourishing all of the park's wildlife. For some, it's a season of anticipation. For others, it's also a time of preparation. Quoll's Crossing, the only road linking Kakadu and Arnhem Land. "50 vehicles cross here every day, but as the water starts to rise, so do the risks. Rangers Matt Dunn and Annie Taylor are on the scene to check if the rising water has reached a dangerous level.
One of the biggest issues we've got in terms of visitor safety is water crossings, people crossing at the wrong time, wrong vehicles, not experienced in water crossings, not confident in the vehicles they're in and the depth of the water when they do the crossing. But the other thing too is you can clearly see that the croc risk is here, it's evident.
The crossing will soon be closed off during the wet season, causing many to brave the currents now.
You're not here, don't pretend you're not here. I was trying to get him and he wouldn't stop it. Just a bit risky. A big vehicle like that with such a big surface area, there's too much current, they can get washed off. You see the crocs working here. Yeah, it's just a safety risk, and we've got to either try and get the vehicle in to get them out or try and throw a boat straight in, and sometimes to be able to go back, get a boat, put it in, can take sort of half an hour to 45 minutes of them sitting in their car, croc-infested waters, so it's just risky.
With no mobile phone reception in the area, help could be hours away for stranded drivers.
Long vehicle could be in trouble going through this water, but sort of once it gets up around 500 and above, that 800, 900 mark is probably the mark where people start getting washed off, because it's the sheer volume of water coming across here. It's just risky, and people put themselves in that situation. Inevitably someone's going to get washed off.
For now, the water isn't at its most dangerous level, but it's only a matter of time. As the water levels rise across many parts of Kakadu, saltwater crocs will soon be able to move from the tidal rivers into the park's vast floodplains. To better manage the safety of visitors, rangers must understand the crocs' movements. Park headquarters. Croc management expert Gary Lidner is monitoring a croc he tagged some weeks back.
Give it a... He's on, Billy. Yep.
Brand new white mould with an aerial, and this one's just distinct. We've called this Crocodile Nigel, and where we captured the croc on the night, he was by himself. Well, Nigel's got plenty of other crocs around him, but whether they want to know him or not's another thing. So yeah, we're very excited to see where Nigel goes, see if he's got any friends. And yeah.
During the coming wet season, Gary will gather crucial intel on Nigel's movements. As a croc management expert, Gary's interested in human-croc interaction on so many levels, especially when another event is underway, crocodile nesting season. From December to March each year, female crocs build nests along the rivers. Their protective instinct leads them to keep a watchful eye from an imminent threat. Salty hides are the most valuable in the world. Crocodiles are farmed from eggs collected in the wild and their skins sold to the fashion industry. With a permit, croc egg collecting is perfectly legal, but not in Kakadu. Here, it's off limits. Still, the park's protected breeding grounds attract its share of poachers. During this busy season, it's Gary's duty to monitor the situation. He's joined by compliance manager Andrew Wellings. The South Alligator River is their target. They need to scan the riverbanks for croc nests.
There's got to be a nest, eh? There.
Looks like a bit of a cleared area.
That one?
Within minutes, they spot one.
There is.
Yeah. Good nest, eh?
Yeah, that's a ripper.
Gary and Andrew need to check if the nest has been raided. If it has, it will mean that poachers are on the prowl.
Just keep an eye out. Mum might come running out shortly.
Mother crocs are both highly protective and territorial. They're known to attack anything that comes near their eggs.
You're loaded, are you?
That's what Mum's up to.
Yeah, just whack the grass a bit, Andrew, try and see if you can flush her out. I'll just keep her in gear up against the bank.
Yeah, that's good, because I might want to get back on board quickly.
It's pretty dangerous. We're trying to work out where the female is. She might have already gone under a tree up there, but she might also charge.
There's a fresh track at the back down here.
Okay. Any sign of her?
Nah, looks all right, Gary. There's no wallow or nothing.
Yeah, I can smell her. I reckon she's in the water here.
Yeah.
There. That's Mum right there.
Yeah. Oh, bugger. Oh.
Even though she's a bit wary, she's also very interested in what we're doing with her nest.
Yeah.
We've seen her now, so we know where she is.
Yeah.
But she's seen us, which sort of...
Yeah, she's had a good look at us, good size up of us.
Well, she's gone down, so Andrew's going to be on full alert, because she could do a full charge up the bank and have a snap. So we'll do a quick nest inspection and get out of here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can see here, she's laid a good clutch of eggs. We'll GPS it as well.
We do monitor our nests across the park. You know, there's lots of temptation by some people to raid nests. If each egg's worth, you know, 25 to 50 bucks each. Taking the eggs out of this nest could be pretty profitable.
You just land here with a helicopter, open the nest up, rip the eggs out, and then you're gone. But it's a high-risk sort of activity.
And there's significant penalties. You can fine, maybe even jail. So it's nothing light. It's a big game.
Fortunately, the nest hasn't been raided yet. But poachers aren't the only problem.
I see a number of eggs here that have already died, probably from heat stress. See the brown ones here, like, that's a dead egg, that one.
bad news for Mother Croc. Already, out of each clutch of eggs, less than 1% will make it to maturity in the wild.
And things happen. If a croc survives out of its nest, it might grow into a 16-footer one day or a 3-metre female. But it's got to run the gauntlet of life to get to that stage. And once a croc gets pretty big, it's well and truly earned its right to be, you know, a boss croc.
And Mum will do everything she can to give them that chance.
You can see here, she'll stay on this nest for about 3 months. They'll start making a noise from within the egg, and the mother will dig the nest out, and the young will hatch, and they'll stay with Mum for, you know, a couple of months or more. So she's pretty protective even after birth. She's looking now.
Yeah, we might as well get going.
All right, let's go.
A thunderstorm is brewing on the horizon, so rangers call it a day.
Ah, beautiful day. That's what we've been after for a while, eh? Oh, well. We got enough money to buy raincoats this year, or what? Nah. Starting back to garbage bags.
Garbage
Good old
bags.
days.
Oh, another day at work. Different time of year.
The irregular rains are pushing humidity levels sky high. In Jim Jim district, 70 kilometers away, naturalist Ian Morris is out conducting a survey. It's a great time to study how the park's wildlife is changing in this transitional season.
It's about 100% humidity, just the way we like it, really. We've had a few teasing storms that have dropped a few millimetres of rain here and there. Nothing substantial as yet, but that's enough to sort of excite everything.
Turns out, the build-up season creates the perfect conditions for some species to flourish.
These Drinaria ferns are a good example of plants that respond to increase in the build-up. They've probably got little timers in them. They probably don't need to have any rain, but at this particular time of the year, Gunamaling, rain or no rain, off they go. It's a whole sort of expectation, anticipation season. Yeah, what happens in the insect world when you get the rise in the humidity, as we got a week or two back, is that they're free to get out and do stuff.
Kakadu is home to over 10,000 insect species. For one of them, it's an ideal time for some home improvements.
What we have here, this is a termite mound, one of about 30-odd species that we get in this area. This time of year, when the rain comes, the first showers soak into the ground, the moisture penetrates, the termites underground collect that damp soil and bring it up. They'll build an area that size on top of their mound.
These mounds help control airflow and temperature in the extensive network of underground tunnels.
Maybe a week later, they'll do another slab somewhere else and another slab, and slowly the mound grows to its full height. And that might take 50 years.
With the ability to grow up to 6 meters, these expanding mounds are Mother Nature's way of saying monsoon is coming. With torrential storms due to arrive any day now, rangers must prepare the park for the coming deluge. East Alligator District. Rangers Matt Dunn and Annie Taylor have their hands full. The roads here act as vital gateways to popular tourist spots and campgrounds. But during the wet season, they become prone to severe flooding, making them impassable. To prevent this from happening, rangers must carry out regular maintenance work on the roads.
Yeah, well, this time of year, we're sort of transitioning to our weed season. When the rain does come in, here we've got a lot of sites we've got to start getting access to, so it's going to be cart and gravel up and back to put on some of these boggy spots so we can hopefully get access all wet season.
They must increase the elevation of the roads so vehicles can still pass through.
Out in this district of East Alligator, wet season can become a bit of a challenge. So we've got the Magilla and the S-bends which come up and flood and basically lock us in for the wet season. and need to get boats down here to be able to get access over to Jabiru. And then 20 kilometres this way, and obviously we've got Carl's Crossing, and that itself is a bit more of a dangerous river system. It's got a lot more flow, and when that water comes up, that's when we'll get people starting to get washed off the crossing, which can present a huge safety risk. The wet season hasn't got here yet. We're still waiting for that water to come up, but you can bet that someone will get washed off there trying to get across at the wrong time and the wrong tide. Big risk of crocodiles in that river as well.
At Quoll's Crossing, Matt's fear has turned to reality. Water has risen to a dangerous level, but some have chosen to brave the currents. This driver's miscalculation could cost him his car and his life. With water levels rising fast, locals have little time to salvage the vehicle themselves. The car is wedged too deep for the rescue vehicle. They must think of an alternative quickly. It's a hard lesson for everyone. In the next episode, the monsoon finally makes a grand appearance.
Here it comes, magic time of year.
The rains bring comfort and relief to the top end. But it could also mean disaster for the stranded.
Yeah, where's your location and which track's got the trees across it?
For the Rangers, it's the start of another busy season. Previously on Outback Rangers.
Any sign of her?
As seasons change, Kakadu Rangers launch a crucial patrol on poachers.
3, 4. That's Mum right there. Yeah. Oh, bugger.
While preparing the park for the coming deluge.
We've got a lot of sites we've got to start getting access to.
In this episode, the long-anticipated monsoon finally arrives. But with it, new problems.
Plenty of trees down today. You don't count because it becomes depressing otherwise.
Rangers must head out to clear blocked roads, while another crew race to control an invasive species. The Outback Rangers gear up to deal with the havoc brought on by the big wet. March in Kakadu. After a record dry season, the monsoon has finally arrived. Torrential rainfall turns parched earth into thriving wetlands. It's a perfect time for the jacana to nest and the magpie geese to mate. As the river system becomes inundated, plants flourish. Speargrass grows over 2 meters tall and native plants flower. But in this wet environment, something else also thrives. Something that threatens Kakadu's fragile ecosystem. An invasive weed called Mimosa. Senior Ranger Buck Salau, along with Ranger Fred Hunter, are charged with an important mission: to search and destroy Mimosa. It competes with native plants and blocks access to food sources and habitat for animals. If left unchecked, Mimosa has the potential to devastate the wetlands.
If you had mimosa, well, nothing goes there. It just takes over. There's no bird life. Like magpie geese can't nest, feed and all that in the floodplain, so that's probably the most important thing.
4 Mile Hole, South Alligator District. Buck and Fred are monitoring floodplains where the weeds were previously found. Today they'll travel 150 kilometers. They need to get to the mimosa fast before they start to drop their seeds.
Two airboats working, mostly all wet season with 2 teams. That's the only way we can get to mimosa.
If things do happen out here, that's why we carry fat phones and we've got radios for emergencies. Well, you just got to make sure when you're cruising through, just be careful and just pod along. But anything can happen out here.
You're on water, so basically if you do break down, you can't just pile over and walk off home because it's full of crocodiles here, this swamp, and that's a big area.
Basically, we come and check this plot many times as we can. As you can see, we've got one plant here. It's only a seedling. This is how we like to find them. It hasn't dropped any seeds.
Good news for the rangers so far, but it's still early in the day, and there's no telling if the rest of the floodplains are as lucky. At the East Alligator District, researcher Tegan Cremona has an equally important task.
Sleeping's getting stronger, which means that we're getting a lot closer to the location of the quoll.
Tegan has been studying the quoll population in this district. Over the last year, she has tagged 7 quolls with radio tracking devices. This morning, she's out to check on them.
These juveniles that we've been tracking, their mums have been toad trained, but the offspring themselves have not been toad trained. So that's what we're really looking at, is if they've learnt without us intervening.
The northern quoll population had been declining for many years, but when the toxic cane toad arrived in 2001, their decline went into free fall. Cane toads thrive in the wet season, so it's a critical time for the young quoll's survival. It's a crucial job, but what really motivates Tegan is her affection for these tiny marsupials.
I've always been fascinated with carnivorous marsupials. I like quolls because they're not your typical marsupial. They're not the kangaroo hopping around. They've got a bit of fire in them. They're a bit feisty. They'll chase down a rat and have it for dinner. I try not to be a hermit, but yeah, when you're out here alone, you end up a bit like a hermit. The only living things I see are quolls. They're part of my family now. Look forward to seeing them every day. Picking up a double beak, which means the collar's been still for at least 8 hours. Could mean 2 things. If the collar's fallen off, it could be just sitting in the grass somewhere, and we shouldn't have too much trouble finding it. But the other alternative is that a quoll has died.
A dead quoll would be bad news for an already fragile population.
Must be here somewhere. Oh no. We've got a little quoll here that's been killed by something. Like maybe a dingo or a wild dog. It's almost been torn in half. Looks like a female. It is just really devastating. I've been following this baby basically since it became independent. And this is a small population, so every single quoll that dies has a huge impact. So especially female quolls, there's just so few of them, and we really need the females to hang on that bit longer to reproduce in the next year.
It's heartbreaking news, but there may be a silver lining.
This quoll hasn't died from a cane toad, so that's a positive thing. This quoll might have been avoiding cane toads, and it's just been unlucky to get snatched by a predator. It would be a very sad day to see a species like the northern quoll disappear. It is important that we do everything we can to help the quolls.
The big wet is also the ideal time to study another endangered population. South Alligator River, the only fully protected river system in Australia. Home to a number of vulnerable wildlife species, including river sharks.
And another one.
Fish biologist Peter Kine and Grant Johnson are from the National Environmental Research Programme. They have been studying the river shark population in the South Alligator River system. They're on the lookout for the elusive spear-toothed shark, a critically endangered species so elusive that no one has ever seen an adult.
Have we got a shark?
Peter and Grant need to find out more about this rarely encountered species, even if it means staking out crocodile-infested waters.
GLA 015. We're doing some surveys for river sharks and sawfish out here on the South Alligator. So sharks and ray are primarily marine species, and there's only a handful of them that get into fresh water and into rivers. The reason we're working on these species here is to try and get better information to guide and try and recover the populations. We can't recover them until we sort of know what the actual status is. These rivers act as a nursery area for the young. Since if we wanted to conserve or manage the entire life cycle of these species, we really need to know where those adults are, where they're going. It's nice when they're released, you see that nice little kick-off means they're nice and healthy, so it hasn't been too traumatic for it. Yeah. There's a barramundi caught in the net here. Get them out quickly because they attract the crocodiles. Easy feed for the crocs.
It's not a bad office, really, is it? No, it's not the easiest place to work with mud and crocodiles and lots of things trying to bite you, but it's yeah, no, it's exciting to look and see what's in there. Murky water hides a lot of things, yeah. Makes life interesting. All right. All right, then another one.
Excellent. Yeah, well, we've captured 2 spear-tooth sharks so far. Still a bit of fishing time to go, so given the rarity of the species, that's actually not a bad day already. Well, it looks like there's rain coming.
It certainly cools things down a bit. It'd be good to have some rain.
This is the best part about it, mate. Yeah.
The South Alligator River system is one of only a handful of places in the world this shark has been recorded. But the elusive 2.5-meter adult is still to be found. Back at 4 Mile Hole, Buck and Fred are forging ahead with their search and destroy mission. They need to find and remove the mimosa before the plants drop thousands of seeds into the floodplains. One way to spot a mimosa, its touch-induced movement.
So it's one way of identifying a mimosa plant. They've got prickles on them, of course. See?
And that's all it is. This one plant, if it grew to mature and seeded, that means that we're looking at a possible seed bank of another 25, 30 years. It's probably 12, 15 years old, this particular area here, where there's been a seeded plant. So just to come back and find that one, very satisfying. It's a really good find today. It's well worth just being able to find our way in here.
Searching for the mimosa is a laborious task. The rangers need to be alert at all times.
When I first came to Kakadu, there was thousands of buffalo. In the early days, some of the larger infestations of mimosa we actually found buffalo were getting in them. With the mimosa seed, it would stick to their hair, on their bodies, and also the mud. And we were starting to find mimosa plants growing out of buffalo wallows, so they were transporting the seed as well. So yeah, so we do cull them for that reason.
To stop buffaloes from trampling Kakadu's wetlands, their numbers have to be kept under control.
They are an introduced species and their numbers can build up very quickly. The job's done because it has to be done to protect our wetlands.
The rangers call it a day and return to their home for the past 4 days, the campsite.
Yeah, this area here, we camp probably 3 times a year during the wet season for airboating. We usually come down because you can't come in every day, bog up the road, so if you come in here, we usually try and stay for a while.
No.
The storm coming, you can hear thunder over here behind us and over this way here. It looks like we're going to cob it. Ready? You're going to get hit by lightning, all right?
We'll survive it. We've been pretty lucky here, I think.
Buck and Fred are worried the torrential rain and wind could cause a major problem. Fallen trees.
To Card Spoke. That storm last night dropped a whole heap of trees on the road.
Yeah, copy that. We'll organise a crew and we'll see if we can get through today and meet up with you partway along the track or in where you're at. Yeah, the access has just been blocked, so we'll go and get rid of a few trees and make it a bit easy for them to get out.
Khan Spokes from the South Alligator Station is leading this roadblock operation. Khan and his team have no time to waste. They need to clear the trees that were knocked down by last night's storm.
Plenty of trees down today. The storms are an annual event that happens every wet season. For Freddie and those guys, it can become a real issue if something belts through, knocks it down a heap of trees and locks them in for a couple of days. And worst case scenario, yeah, they could be stuck for 3 or 4 days clearing trees. So we try and help out as much as we can because the job they are doing is so demanding. This one's got a couple of issues. This tree got another dead tree hanging top end of it here, so as I drop that one may pull out of that iron bark there and the iron wood. If we get plenty of these things, it could be a very long day in the sun. Slide. I'm not going to cut right through. What I want to do is just try and give that a weak point so that when the whole thing does go, it'll drop and that will snap and that'll fall and I won't be there. That's the plan.
The work is time-consuming. With Buck and Fred trapped at 4 Mile Hole, Khan and his team need to move fast to reach them before nightfall.
It worked well. Doesn't always go to plan like that, but occasionally it does. And if we get to where Freddie and Buck are, they'll be happy. Otherwise, they'll be waiting still till tomorrow.
With the Weeds team finally able to head home, the Rangers can now call it a day. Nighttime on the South Alligator. The air is filled with sounds marking the wet season. Inactive during the dry months, many of Kakadu's frogs are now awakened by the rain and the explosion of insects it brings. Naturalist Ian Morris and ranger Anne O'Day are out tonight to see if the frogs have come out of their hibernation. Ian has a special skill, recognizing frog calls.
And it'll be interesting just to see who's around here at the beginning of their main activity period, which is the season of good yelp.
They stumble across one of the neighborhood's noisiest residents, the carpenter frog.
Hello. This is in the banjo frog family, unique to this sandstone country, both here and in the Kimberley to our west. The carpenter frog is very distinctive because it has a call that just sounds like somebody hammering wood. Every frog species has its own language, and we learn their calls very quickly because you need to be able to go into an area and do a quick survey of what's happening and who's there. We know all our frogs, all the known species. It's like members of your own family. You know their voice. Even if you're blindfolded, you know their voice. Hear the noise like a little canary? It's the one we want. It's called the masked cave frog.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see one of those.
The masked cave frog is one of many species endemic to this area. Monitoring them is vital.
When you're calling, you're signalling to both the other males of your species and the females that you've got good breeding habitat around you, but you're also letting all your predators know where you are. We've got quite a few snakes that are frog specialists, and so that sound draws them in. Hear that? That's it. Masked cave frog. There's one hopping towards me now. They have a call, a little trilling call, a little bit like a canary. One of our really unique frogs that's only found in this area, nowhere else in Australia. They're just starting to get excited now for the first time this year.
Kakadu gets under your skin, you know. Every place here just is different at all times of years. You can never have been to each place enough because it's not always the same. It's always changing, especially throughout the seasons.
Back at the East Alligator District, Tegan Cremona presses on to check on her little friends.
What we're hoping is the quolls that we've trained will have babies. And not only will the trained quolls survive, but the babies will also learn to avoid toads, and they can survive to reproduce as well.
The first few traps come up empty.
Not long after we started tracking them, we did have a few quolls die, killed by predators. The wet season can be a pretty tough time for the quolls because there's lots of hungry animals out there and there's lots of toads as well. So I'm really concerned about the future of this population.
It's not a promising sign for the fragile population, but Kakadu has a habit of revealing the unexpected.
Oh, looks like we've got a quoll. We got one. This is awesome news. She's gorgeous. She's one of the ones we've been following, one of the babies from last year. This is one of the ones that's important for the future. This is great. There's living proof here. This is working. She's survived through the toughest time. There's toads around, so they're not eating them. The incredible part of this is that these are wild animals. The fact that we've been able to teach them something, it's just incredible. It's a great success, and there's just so much hope for these guys in the future.
I think the wet season, it can be quite a humbling experience because It's out of your control. It's so dynamic. You don't know what's going to happen. We are humble to this environment. We are ruled by nature. We're not actually manipulating it, changing it in any way. That's what I love about this place, that it's looking after us.
In the next episode, Rangers and the Northern Territory Police maintain law and order within Kakadu.
Just a couple of vehicles have been detected with firearms here. Probably around 120 rounds of ammunition that's unsecured in the back of one of the vehicles.
While just outside Kakadu,
Yeah, look out, Joe, there's a female coming towards the cage.
a croc farmer takes the world's risky business to another level.